Millions in ETH being moved to Bitfinex from the Genesis block?
What?
Is it the Bogdanovs? Look, y'all, I know a lot of crypto investors have been feeling a little bit like this. I'm gonna spare the sort of real talk attitude and focus on some positive news here in the market. There's some good news to focus on. Obviously, most of you who know this channel know that I speak my mind and know that I tend to spit out negative news when I see negative news or something I don't think is very positive. Obviously, I get it. In these tough times where people have lost a lot of money, people are losing faith or whatever, it helps to just be generally positive, create the hodler's mentality sentiment, and keep the vibe going. I hope you guys all know that I am a die-hard hodler. Of course, I have the coins that I believe in and I hodl, and I'm not going to give up even during this bearishness. But of course, I don't think it really does anyone favors for me to say something is going for sure to the moon or I'm going to buy more. I sort of take my role here on this channel, specifically as more and more people have come to follow it. And, you know, judging by the comments, it seems like people really care what I have to say here. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm not saying, oh, for sure, put your money in something when I'm not 100% confident as to what the next few months will look like. Now, obviously, the coins that I review, I have a strong fundamental belief that they will hold their value or gain value over time, and that with the next bull market, they'll have their day, if you will, at another big bull run. However, having said that, we are in some uncertain times, and judging by something that we'll go over today, it's not 100% clear how soon we'll be back in this fully bullish trend, although of course, I do believe it'll be coming. I get occasionally negative comments for not saying that we're in a bull trend, and I get that everybody wants to hear bullishness, but to be honest, if I don't see bullishness in the data, I'm not going to say that it's bullish to you guys. But regardless of all that, let's focus on some good news here in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets, because there is some really exciting news going on with different coins, different developments on the tech, so we'll get to those. And even if you're feeling like this, hopefully we can have you feeling a little more like this guy and a little less like this guy. So we'll see how that goes. Elio Trades here, reporting for duty for another episode of FUD TV. Starting off strong here with some positive news for Ethereum. We have word from the Loom network that there are 3 plasma chains running as side chains to Ethereum currently right now. Of course, the first and foremost of them is Plasma Chain, formerly Zombie Chain, and then we also have Game Chain and Social Chain. We'll go through exactly what these mean and a little details about these chains right now, but just know that this is an exciting update as far as scalability is concerned on the Ethereum network, which is of course one of the most vital improvements that needs to happen to the network if of course Ethereum wants to be this DApp platform of the future. So if you don't know about Loom Network, they're building side chains to Ethereum, and they also released a video game called Zombie Battleground, which they crowdfunded through Kickstarter. And last week they released the alpha version of this game, which is actually running fully on the blockchain. So all of the transactions are hitting the blockchain, which is very, very exciting. And furthermore, to that effect, it's not like you need to understand and buy Ethereum or even understand what blockchain is to use it. You can just go play this game like a normal video game and it will be hitting and using the blockchain. So Loom Network is currently running 3 side chains on the network. Like I said, Game Chain, Plasma Chain, and Social Chain. Now, Plasma Chain started as something called Zombie Chain. Now, when they announced Zombie Chain a few months back, the whole idea was a scalable sidechain for Ethereum that they were going to run their video game off of. It's evolved into something much bigger. It's going to become a central hub for token transactions and linked to Ethereum by Plasma Cash. To get a sort of snapshot overview of what Plasma Cash is going to do, they're going to be a link to the mainnet for Ethereum ERC20s and NFT, which are ERC 721 support. And they're also going to have a built-in DEX and marketplace, native payments in ETH and Loom. They're also going to integrate Bitcoin. And this is something that I'm going to keep coming back to, because the last few months of the cryptocurrency market, after altcoin fever has sort of subsided and we've seen a real drain of the alts, what's become clear to me is that the real driver of this cryptocurrency market, from a currency perspective, Bitcoin has really shown its strength as the rock of the industry. Where Bitcoin goes, the rest of the coins go. When Bitcoin moons, the rest of the coins moon. And when Bitcoin has a bad day, the rest of the coins have an even worse day, for the most part. So I think integrating Bitcoin like this is very important. No matter what project you're on, you're going to need to play nicely with Bitcoin. As Bitcoin increases its scalability and its utility, you're going to want to have that ability to use Bitcoin. And I think the projects that don't allow for the use of Bitcoin or allow for the integration of Bitcoin will be missing out and might actually not be able to grow and flourish the way that future cryptocurrency and blockchain projects will. Just my opinion. Again, guys, not financial advice, just one guy's opinion, but hopefully you like my opinions. Spent a lot of time researching, so they're based, roughly on some facts. The plans to enable Plasma Cash links to layer 3 chains, with Plasma Cash as the parent chain. Think sidechains of sidechains, in which Plasma Chain is the clearinghouse that enables trading of tokens between multiple sidechains without hitting the mainnet. That this would be huge to have tons of transactions going on without actually needing to tap into Ethereum's mainnet. Ethereum's mainnet is the very slow protocol that we've been hearing so much negativity about as far as scaling is concerned, but of course there's so much built on it, so enabling these transactions to happen at scale without hitting the mainnet is incredibly powerful. So that's something that I absolutely love, and I think that Plasma and all of its promise is going to be part of that excitement, and Loom Network, and of course you've heard OMG is focusing on Plasma chains as well. Regardless, let's go into a little bit more of how they're using this. Zombie Battleground Marketplace is already running on Plasma Chain as we're reading this. Plasma Chain, as the central hub that acts as a bridge between multiple sidechains and Ethereum, will be one of the most important pieces in the Loom vision moving forward. Here's a little infographic here. They see that all these chains hit Plasma Chain, and Plasma Chain can interact with the other chains, and then when you need to store something or withdraw to the Ethereum mainnet, you can do so. So then they have these two other chains. They have Game Chain and Social Chain. And I'm just going to distill this down for you. Essentially, they're each optimized to their functionality. Think of it as using the Ethereum mainnet for different purposes. So they touched on this again, having dedicated side chains tailored to particular kinds of applications allows us to optimize each chain for those types of dApps, whereas Ethereum mainnet, you might have someone sending a tweet competing in gas fee with someone sending $1 million. Obviously, someone sending $1 million, as we just explained, they might attach a much higher gas fee to that because maybe it's worth $1,000 to make sure that that transaction goes through fast, efficiently, and has, is really not stuck in the network, because that would be really anxiety inducing to have your $1 million transaction stuck in the Ethereum network. Whereas storing a tweet, maybe you don't care if it hits the blockchain for a few minutes or even an hour, who knows? That's what these different types of sidechains will enable. And it's very exciting because obviously scalability and utility for different types of applications has been the big question mark hanging over Ethereum's head. Then it's the conversation around why games? Why gaming? Why is this such a big deal? And if you look at the rise of esports and you look at the culture of online gaming, you look at how addictive games are to humans, we have games embedded in all facets of society, airline miles, different loyalty programs, different casual games. If you remember the Candy Crush saga and how that was one of the most explosive and addictive things in all the casual games that came after it, games are a very important thing for human psychology, and people get really excited about games. So to a lot of experts, games on the blockchain are really going to be the Trojan horse applications, and they have all this real world value that they own, like these trading cards, ERC-721s. They can also earn cryptocurrency and ERC-20s within games. So it's like taking that gaming experience that humans naturally gravitate towards and adding more value to it. That's what's so exciting about games beyond the data storage and privacy and security. That's why blockchain games could be these Trojan horse applications that really bring people into the blockchain world without fully realizing they're using blockchain. In fact, the greatest games will make sure that you don't really even see that blockchain functionality. You're just playing your favorite games. Moving on, we also got word that the Indiegogo platform is introducing a security token, and that's to have shares in a hotel in Aspen. This is an extremely exciting and important move forward for the blockchain industry, because right now on the blockchain, to invest in different cryptocurrencies, you're pretty much just investing in something extremely speculative. It's not tied to real world value or revenues. I can't really think of a single coin that's value is being calculated based on its transaction or its revenue. However, that is totally not the case when you invest in a piece of real estate. Think of this as you're buying a little slice of a piece of real estate. That piece of real estate is given its value based on time-tested math. The cap size, how much rent is on the property, what the projected revenue of the businesses on the properties are. All these numbers can come together to give you a rough estimate as to what a property should be valued at. And that's not going to change based on the price of Bitcoin. In fact, that's not even necessarily going to change based on the price of the dollar. You can see how real estate goes up in value over time when compared to the US dollar. And that's not necessarily because the value of the property is growing. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes because the value of the dollar is sinking relative to actual value. So in the end, with real estate, there's actual real value that you can calculate. And for that reason, it's not as speculative. Yes, there's speculation involved in real estate investments, but it's not nearly as speculative or volatile as what we're thinking about when we're talking about a Bitcoin investment. So for that reason, I think it's very exciting to see the blockchain starting to fill up with different types of assets that you can buy fractionally family and own and protect the same way you do your coins, right? It's just a new way of showing your ownership and your participation on the equity side in an asset. But I can tell you, I've worked extensively and taken a lot of meetings looking into tokenizing traditional equities and putting them on the blockchain. And to see Indiegogo taking a foray into securities on the blockchain and allowing for everyone to invest and get fractional ownership, that's very exciting. Now, I want to answer one question about this because this is something that gets floated quite a bit. People ask a lot of times when I'm talking about securities on the blockchain, is this going to create a bigger demand for Bitcoin? Now, some people may choose to invest via Bitcoin into these securities. Some people might want to get paid out their profits in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency for their participation in these securities. Meaning when this hotel, for example, pays out its monthly shareholder profits, maybe someone will want to be receiving those profits in Bitcoin. But really, to me, this calls for the need for stable coins. I think stable coins will really see their introduction here because once you have all these profits from the hotel and you're storing the shares on the blockchain already, are you going to send people a wire? Are you going to send people a check via the mail? No, you're probably going to look to optimize those systems as well. And in my opinion, this is where we get the introduction and the real boom for stable coins and the real necessity for them, because you're going to have all these different types of business and ownership expressed and really taking place on the blockchain, living on the blockchain. So those stable coins will find their extreme utility in helping settle payments and provide, shareholder profits, all the lovely things that we participate here that we rely on the banking system for. We'll find alternative ways to provide those on the blockchain. So I'm calling for these types of securities to be very, very healthy for the blockchain industry, but I don't necessarily see a direct connection to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the cryptocurrencies that we all know and love. I see it as an indirect connection as people becoming more familiar with blockchain assets, but I see this as a real trigger for the stablecoin revolution. We also have some serious news coming out of Icon. They've rebranded to Icon Loop from The Loop, which is of course their parent company. And that's because The Loop is a slightly older company that has all of these crazy partnerships. And The Loop is really the company that's providing all of this partnership and excitement for Icon and the blockchain. They changed their name because people didn't quite realize that The Loop was part of Icon, so they wanted to dispel that confusion. And they've initiated a $5 million ICX repurchase program. They're essentially buying back Icon right now, which if we check out Icon's price, Icon is trading for about 67 cents. What is it? 67, 68 cents. It had a dip down here to about 50 cents, which if you go back to its oldest chart data, it almost goes down to 40 cents at one point, but it pops up so quickly to above 50 cents that it's almost scarcely ever been trading this low. So for them to be doing this buyback program, locking it and then reinvesting it in 6 to 12 months, I think it's smart, benefiting from their own growth doubly by having a bigger amount of their currency supplied. It's essentially the equivalent of someone buying and hodling, taking some of that currency off the market and allowing for that currency to grow in value before reinvesting it back in the ecosystem. So I think it's a smart move. It shows their confidence in their own coin and their own project. But again, to see it go as low as 50 cents, it shows you that even some of these amazing projects like Icon are getting absolutely pummeled right now by this altcoin drain. But hopefully actions like this from projects like Icon create a sense of confidence in the project so that the hodlers and the participants in this investor community will be comfortable knowing that there will be another day for this Icon coin to rise. I certainly love this coin. Just my opinion, not financial advice, but I really like what's coming out of the Icon project right now. We need to talk about some whale play going on with Ethereum. Now, an early investor in what looks like the ICO is moving 20,000 Ethereum. 20,000 Ethereum.
Quick math.
Now, quick math puts that at just under $6 million worth of Ethereum. This wallet address has actually moved this amount of Ethereum or a similar amount of Ethereum before to the Bitfinex exchange, and it eventually hit the market as sell orders. So we can expect that this whale is planning to sell and exit their Ethereum position, showing furthermore that people, or at least noteworthy holders of Ethereum, are starting to lose confidence in the price trajectory for the coin. We'd all like to believe that Ethereum holders and investors in cryptocurrency are benevolent, part of the same team, the hodler team, that all want to wait until the coin moons. But remember, Ethereum came out for less than $10. So for them, $10 to $300 So for them, they've already seen it moon, and maybe they're having a little bit of a crisis of confidence that it won't go back up to the prior levels of $1,000, $1,500, or even hold the gains that it's at right now. Maybe they're trying to redistribute their Ethereum, buy in other coins with their Ethereum. Maybe they want to buy Bitcoin. Very hard to say, but all we know now is that there is a big whale moving a big amount of Ethereum, and this could create some downward selling pressure in the near future. So just be aware of that. There are some whales out there moving around, and right now is an interesting time for cryptocurrency. And to see how interesting it is, we're going to compare it right now to the 2014 bear market with a chart that someone has generously prepared and put on Reddit. So we're going to check this out right now. So if you compare the bear markets here of 2014 and 15 to now, and you stack the charts, and I went and looked this up because I wanted to make sure it was accurate. Yeah, it looks like this is pretty accurate if you look at the 2014 graph and you stack it over the 2018 Bitcoin graph. Obviously, they have different y-axes. They have different price points here that they're doing, but the shape of the crash, the shape of the bear market trend is very, very eerily similar. I mean, pretty darn similar. So what I'd say here is that if you're going to compare it to the 2014 crash and the 2014 bear market, what you need to know is that there was an extended bear market where the price of Bitcoin didn't reach this level of what was about $1,000 before the year started until 2016. So you had beginning of 2014 till almost the end of 2016 that it took to get back to that $1,000 mark and recoup its gains. So if we're comparing this to the 2014-15 bear market, of course it came back, but it took 2 years. So if you're planning to hodl and if you're planning to keep investing, just understand that you need to have a long-term perspective. So there's no data right now showing in the market, especially with the ETF delays, that we're gonna have any catalyst to explosive growth in the near future. Obviously, I could totally be wrong about that, but right now, based on the data we're looking at, and especially if you're comparing it to the 2014-15 bear market, there's no data to suggest that this growth is going to happen soon. Instead, there's more data to suggest that we're going to go sideways for a very long time, if not a little bit further down, before we make our pop. So that's what I'm getting from this. Obviously, it's a little bit interesting just to see historical trends somewhat repeating themselves. I find that, there's a little bit of comfort in that, to see that history might not repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes, as they say. So I would say that this is exciting. It should be exciting to you, knowing that your investments have another exciting dose of bull run in them. And remember, after the 2-year bear market, there was a 2-year bull market. The longer the bear market, the longer the bull market. That's the sort of market cycle laws. Although this might be a shorter bear trend than the 2014-15 cycle, the truth is that it might still be a cycle that has some order of magnitude on par there. Maybe we have bearishness throughout the rest of 2018. Maybe it lasts into 2019. We know that there is a bull cycle ahead, but the longer this bear cycle goes on, actually, the longer the bull cycle will go on. Just something to keep in mind. And finally, and excitingly, we have a little bit of word that Germany is going to look into detaching its monetary system from a reliance on the US dollar, which could mean an absolute boon for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, as having a stable sort of base unit of currency in the US dollar based on the recent trade wars and tariffs is looking like it's not going to be as feasible. So we'll see how this plays out, but this is a little glimmer of hope for cryptocurrency. Obviously, I'm not sure how good it is for the US dollar, but I think a lot of people who are invested heavily, especially maximalists or sort of people who are a little more hardcore in their beliefs on cryptocurrency, see it as not necessarily a bad thing to be moving away from fiat currencies like the US dollar. Obviously, the whole global economy is in a very weird place right now, and seeing moves away from the US dollar puts it in an even more unstable place. However, it could mean that this sort of revolution and reliance on Bitcoin, this could be part of the catalyst that helps send Bitcoin onto its next bull run. We don't know. Obviously, external global events will have a huge important role here on how Bitcoin interacts and grows. I don't think anyone's expecting for Bitcoin to reach $10 million in value without a lot of buy-in from the rest of the world. So I think revelations like this are definitely part of that bigger story. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of FUD TV. Obviously, if you did and you're not subscribed, I encourage you, hit that sub button, click that little bell notification. That way you're made aware whenever we put out new content. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely weekend. I'm sorry if I can't get more content up throughout the weekend. I've been working really hard on some of our other projects. As you guys know, we're working hard on a D-app. The community response has been so amazing so far. So we really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. The whole FUD team here couldn't be more appreciative of the support you guys show us. To FUD Nation, the crypto fam, everybody out there, I'm Elio Trades. You're watching FUD TV, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.